Welcome to today's edition of the Morning Briefing. I'm Jeff DeForest along with Mike Lubitz, and very happy to have you guys with us here on nofilter.net. I don't know that this is a great way to introduce what is a just widely generic topic when it comes to the sporting landscape, but I was thinking about it. I guess, the way to do it is in song, Luby. If ever I could leave you, how could it be in springtime? It's the age-old debate. That was borrowed. I was channeling my inner Robert Goulet. For the younger people out there, Goulet, who was a brilliant singer and obviously a very accomplished baritone, was only known, kind of had a Jackie Smith, Bill Buckner type of moment. He was best known for blowing the national anthem. He was a Canadian citizen at the Ollie Liston rematch in Lewiston, Maine. And he got up there to sing the American national anthem. And the American national anthem, I guess because we are red-blooded Americans, Libby, seems pretty simple. I mean, you probably know the lyrics. Even if you never heard the song before, you could probably hum along. It's the Canadian national anthem that nobody knows, correct?
Canadian, I bet he knows.
Who knows anything past like the first line? Oh, Canada. Right? What is the next line? My God, it's cold outside? It could be shoot the puck for all I know. I don't know. I've heard it a zillion times, right? Every hockey game you go to. Oh, no, dueling national anthems. You got to be kidding me. You're already out of peanuts and you don't feel like handing up another $24 while the anthem is being done, right? But anyway, that's the age-old question in sports, is that what's the best time of the year on the sporting landscape? What would be the best time? Is it spring, where you have things unfolding there in baseball, and you still have all kinds of activity and playoffs and March Madness, or is it the fall, which kicked in with the final piece of the puzzle last night, and that was the opening of the NBA season? Mike Lubitz, the opening of the NBA season. Now, it's always great in the NBA because nobody really knows anything in terms of what is actually going on, except that James Harden is an angry prick.
Yes.
And no matter where he goes, he's going to be a detriment. And now that he's put on a few pounds because he's been eating at Subway or whatever with Serena Williams. Hey, have another sandwich, Serena. I'm not a big fan of the way that she treated some of the little people, so to speak. Although, there's a great glamour aura around Serena Williams. And nobody could take away. We've talked about it many times over the years. Nobody could take away from her accomplishments. But you could have been a little nicer about it. That phony sweetness. It always kind of gets to you. If Pete Rose had just said from the beginning, yeah, I bet the shit out of the Reds, nobody would have resented it. The Hall of Fame would have been his. He'd be signing autographs at Cooperstown every day, right there in the front lawn as they did the inductions. It would be incredible how open the arms would have been of people. But, they don't like people like Lance Armstrong, sports fans, that look into the camera and lie or seem to be fraudulent, right?
Well, unless it's Pat Riley. You love Pat Riley being phony.
Thank you for introducing the topic, Mike Lubitz. That's a good reason why you're here. What kind of bullshit was Pat Riley? And we worship Pat Riley. Let me say that. My first contact with Pat Riley came a long time ago when I was just an ink-stained wretch working for a 5,000 circulation daily in the hick town of Fontana, California, now a part of the sprawling metropolis that Los Angeles is. But then it was tumbleweed blowing by the door there. You thought you were in the Old West. Right? Like, where the fuck am I? Montana. Is there a city nearby here? Water. I need something. You were waiting to be treated at the hospital by Doc from Gunsmoke. I mean, that's how far out there this particular place was at the time. But I wanted to upgrade my position, so I figured I better put something together that was on a higher level than just covering the local girls' high school junior varsity volleyball team and writing a big article on that. So I did a couple of things, and one of them was a feature on Chick Hearn, the great Lakers announcer. And a really good guy. I mean, and a real professional, too. I couldn't believe it when I went to interview him. He was actually at the Forum, the LA Forum where they played at the time, like 6 hours before the game. And what is he doing, Lubie? He's kind of rehearsing. He's doing a little warm-up of the game. Now, this wasn't, a senile Chick Hearn. He was still very much in his prime at this time. And the color announcer on the broadcast, who also happened to stop by, was one, Pat Riley.
That's funny.
Who I only knew from that weird basketball card that he had when he was playing for the San Diego Rockets very briefly. in what wasn't exactly an over illustrious NBA career. You would have to say Pat Riley, as great as he was at the University of Kentucky, as an NBA player,
It was average.
was he a scrub? I mean,
I think so.
did Darko Milicic have a better career than Pat Riley? Is that possible?
Probably.
And you know our philosophy on that. Never draft a guy who has a Marx Brothers name. Zeppo, Chico, Darko, Joe Dumars. What the fuck were you thinking? Right? Look who was in there behind him. Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and Carmelo Anthony. Three Hall of Famers,
All
and
three.
you're taking Darko Milicic? No wonder. What is he doing, Dumars, now? Selling
He's like
vegetables somewhere in
the
Istanbul?
NBA. I think he works in the NBA offices or something.
Oh, okay. I thought you might have seen him on your travels through Morocco. With a fez on, just trying to tell. Yeah, I used to be a big star in the NBA. I really made Isaiah Thomas what he was. I was the better player, right? I love the microwave Vinnie Johnson on that team. He was my favorite player because he would just come in and start chucking right away. But the NBA season tipped off last night. What was established, Lubie? I don't know if you caught any of this action. The Denver Nuggets look great. Nikola Jokic, who was denied the MVP last year and triggered all of these ridiculous conversations about, well, you know what? They're racist. That's why they gave it to a white guy. You think Steve Nash was better than Shaq? Tell you the truth. If Shaq showed up at the park and you're playing, full court, let's run some full. And Steve Nash showed up and you had the first pick, who would you have been inclined to take?
You haven't even thought
That
about
would be my criteria for, deciding who the most valuable player would be. I mean, no one's taking Nash. Well, he can pass the ball, this little guy, and he can shoot a little bit. Okay, great. The other guy's a monster. A complete monster. But there's so many things about the NBA happening, and they tried to lead us to believe that Tyler Hero was never mentioned in any trade talks by the Miami Heat, who were desperately seeking the services of Damian Lillard until your, great guy that you admire so much, Joe Cronin, the Portland Trailblazers, said that no, I would rather I would rather have a steel rod shoved right up my ass than have Pat Riley prosper off a deal that I made. Why do they hate Riley? I mean, it's unbelievable because of his success that he's had. He doesn't seem to be particularly offensive, to anybody. He's fascinating to listen to. He's on our all Elliot Ness team. He's untouchable because we love this guy. I've known him since he was a puppy in the NBA.
Yep.
And has come here to Miami and made the Heat an organization that would have to be one of the more distinguished run organizations in all of sports with Mickey Harrison. Hey, you want to take a cruise? And Mick, who happens to be a great humanitarian. It's nice to have cruise ships. I was happy. I thought I was a rich man when I had a couple of wave runners that didn't run in my backyard. The Mick has it all. He's fantastic. But, Riley trying to represent this, that was worse. I don't know. Was that less believable than that Stan Van Gundy wanted to quit his dream job in the middle of the season when it looked like he was primed to win a championship so that he could go to Disney World with his daughter? It's a small world after all. Do you buy that for a second, that Tyler Hero was never mentioned in trade?
The Hero stuff's more believable than the Van Gundy. I don't buy that at all. But the Hero stuff, obviously they were willing to trade him. Now, were they shopping him? No. Did they want to trade him? No. Would they have? Yes.
Of course. Because he would have been the one available guy that you would have most coveted on the Heat roster. He has already established himself as a very good scorer. He says he has the potential to be the best scorer in the league. He's only 23 years old. I think you have to kind of use the parenthetical there. He's 23 years old with already some distinguished accomplishments. He was a sixth man of the year a couple of years ago. He came back this past year, and people thought he had sort of a so-so season. But he still had similar numbers to when he was the sixth man of the year. It's just that he was starting this time.
Yes.
And, he had his injury problems, but, and everybody thinks he's a defensive liability. And yet, is it not possible to improve in that capacity? There have been players that have been perceived to be very poor and lackadaisical on the defensive side that other teams would attack that eventually kind of overcame that. But for some reason, if everybody thinks that you're a stiff on defense when you come into the league, it doesn't matter. You could become, the greatest defensive player in the history of the game. You could be Bill Russell at the guard position, and everybody would still say, you know what, Healer, Hero, he doesn't play any defense.
Well, especially when being on the Heat, who are have a core of really good defenders. Bam Adebayo is probably the best all-around defender in the league. Butler is either one or two best perimeter defenders. Like that covers up a lot of deficiencies. You just can't suck. It's like so. Like that would allow him to grow and just learn how to play. If he can play team defense, that's all he has to do on that team.
It did seem a little improbable that the man's name was never mentioned in the offseason in any capacity, except to say that you know what. And Riley's holding his hand. It was like watching Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift at the press conference and parading him around the room there in front of the media going, I love this kid. Who in the meantime is bulked up. So that's a story to watch. There were a lot of storylines in the NBA as the season tipped off last night. We did see the Denver Nuggets in a rematch of their Western Conference playoff series against the Los Angeles Lakers. We did see where the Lakers continue to have problems, although LeBron James, at 62 years old, still came close to a triple-double in this ball game. And the other side of the coin is looking at Nikola Jokic. I mean, this guy gets a triple-double. You remember the old Miller Lite commercial with the you probably weren't even born when Steve Miserak was a big pool player, and pool was featured often, billiards pool, on Wide World of Sports.
I know.
And Willie Mosconi, he was like the scientist in the tuxedo, and Miserak was like a trick shot artist who was very, very good. And he was featured in a lot of Miller Lite commercials at the time when they used to have like Billy Martin and Whitey Ford and all of these different athletes that were in the spotlight for a variety of different reasons. And he used the tagline, even when you're just fooling around, after he had made some ridiculous shot. And it looked like Jokic is just fooling around, and he's out there getting a triple-double. Incredible. And it made you believe right away after one game. I'm already acknowledging that the Denver Nuggets will be in the NBA Finals again, Lubie. Do we see anything else coming out of the West that can threaten what they're capable of doing? Because it's not quite like watching the Golden State Warriors when they were in total synchronization, either prior to or both including the Kevin Durant years. There with their core players, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and the lot. But in the half court, I mean, they move the ball around as well as like the old New York Knicks with Bradley and DeBusschere and Clyde Frazier and Earl Pearl Monroe and Willis Reed. That ball just travels around in almost perfect symmetry, especially in the half court with the Denver Nuggets. And the weird thing is, you have a big man in Jokic who has a vertical leap of 0.0. You could not slide this sheet of paper if he took his maximum leap. And you couldn't slide this underneath his sneakers. And yet, not only does he score 30 points a game, and not only does he grab like 15 boards a game, but he's dishing off. Not even routine. I mean, you're talking about, a dozen assists every time he goes out there. And a lot of them are passes that you would expect to see from a Steve Nash.
Yep.
So, wow. I mean, Denver looked great last night. Naturally, there's a long way to go, but I've already given them the title.
Look, the thing between them and the Warriors, the one thing the Warriors struggle with is they would get bored. Like the Warriors would have these long lapses, not even in the season, in games where they would have really stupid turnovers.
Yeah.
And essentially they would struggle. The Nuggets don't do that. Like Jokic is so humble and grounded that he's just a metronome, and he's a metronomic presence that like, that's what scares me the most about them is like they don't have these long, like the Warriors would lose 3 or 4 in a row. Like the Nuggets are just so consistent. Literally, it's health. Like Gordon, Porter Jr., Murray get hurt a lot. Like if those guys stay healthy, they're such a balanced roster, and they're so good, and they're so well coached too. They don't have some schminky coach like a freaking Frank Vogel getting in the way.
Oh, this guy seems great, Malone.
Malone's great. Like he's right there with Spo as the best coach in the NBA.
Yeah,
it's like if they stay healthy, even the Bucks, like the Bucks can have Lillard, and the Celtics can add Drew Holiday. I don't think anyone touches this team. They're just so freaking good. They're so methodical, and they're so well put together. And the ego is so. If your best player is Jokic, who doesn't get, he's better at passing. Like they're better when he gets 20 and 20 than when he gets 35 and 10. They're just are. That sets the tone from the top down. It's like they're just really scary. Like they look like they were just screwing around last night and demolished a really good Lakers team.
Even when you're just fooling around.
Yes.
That's kind of how they did it last night. And then you had another game that the Phoenix Suns were involved in.
My
against
words.
Golden State. Clay Thompson, a bricklayer in this ball game. Chris Paul comes in, goes 0 for 6 from 3-point range.
God.
Steph Curry had his usual solid ball game all the way around. I mean, by his standards, 27 points. And yet, very interesting to think about the Phoenix Suns and what they're going to be. This Meshuggah owner fired Monty Williams, who then subsequently got $75 million to coach the young Detroit Pistons,
Yep.
who are one of the, great sports mysteries is how a team, in any sport for that matter, can have especially basketball, though, where one guy can make such a difference and influence a team in such a manner. I mean, you don't think San Antonio should be better with Wembanyama?
Oh, yeah.
Or that Oklahoma City improves if Holmgren can, keep off the mat there for the majority of the season? Because, wow, as we were saying yesterday, this guy needs a 3 knockdown rule. Chet Holmgren. He is one tall string bean, isn't he? But eclipsed by Wembanyama, who has drawn all the attention during the offseason, while this other rookie, essentially, he kind of had a redshirt freshman year.
Yeah, he's a
as
rookie.
he had the micro injury and microsurgery. And, so he's coming in fresh, and he looked pretty good in the preseason. So I don't know if that necessarily translates to him being a powerful force there for Oklahoma City, but they had a good team around him anyway. And so that'll be an interesting thing to watch. Although, who cares about Oklahoma City? I guess, why would I even bring it up?
Well, they should be
Because
a
they
fun
have this
young team.
7'5" guy who could dribble the length of the court and dunk.
They should be a fun young team. They just, again, you're right. It's Oklahoma City. Like they had Kevin Durant.
Oklahoma
and
City.
Westbrook.
You ever know of anybody in your lifetime? I mean, here we are in the paradise of South Florida here. It's sunny all day long. Now you're thinking about Anita Bryant eating an orange there, and some sign with the sunshine, some very tan babe with copper tone all over. Paradise, right? I've never had anybody say, "Hey, you know where I'm going for the weekend? Oklahoma City." Oh, Oklahoma. Never, right? I bet Holmgren was bummed when he got drafted there. At least Wembanyama is in a city that they have what? That Riverwalk? That's the only distinguishing characteristic of San Antonio, which is also a dump, unless you like burritos the size of your head. Otherwise, it's one of the signs there, an advertising post, sign, a billboard for one of the restaurants. We have burritos the size of your head. They're not very good, but they are absolutely large. All right, and tonight, one final thing, Lubie, as you have the marquee matchup, would be the Celtics and the New York Knicks.
Yes.
Our Miami Heat are in action against the Detroit Pistons, 8.5-point favorites there. That may be a bit much delay, but I don't know. I mean, I'll have to see a few before you get involved in the NBA, but the Celtics are both of those teams just over infatuated with what they did last year. The Celtics should be ashamed of themselves for dropping that series to the Miami Heat after coming back from 3-0 and having Game 7 at home, and they lay an egg.
Yeah. Well, Tatum got hurt.
Rodan for the old monster movie. An egg. Biggest egg you've ever seen. Ugliest. And then, they made some changes, and most people think that they were favorable. Correct.
Well, the holiday move is what does it for me. I thought with everything else they did actually made them worse, but the holiday move, you got a guy who's almost as good defensively as Smart, who's way better offensively, and he's a tough guy, and that's the thing that they lack. Tatum and Brown are not tough, and that's sort of their problem. Holiday. That's what the Bucks needed, and he brought that to Milwaukee, and he's now going to bring it to Boston. The Knicks, I don't know what to do with them. Like Brunson is the weirdest guy to me because
they're delusional. The Knicks.
Well, it's not that they're like he's a nice player, but in the playoffs he's fucking great.
Yeah.
But I don't like anything else they have. Like they feel like they have this young core. Like Quickly's Randall always underwhelms. Barrett is a guy that has a ton of talent, but he always is inconsistent. Like they have an interesting team if everyone played well, and they never do.
Seems like Barrett is detached from time to time.
Yes, 100%.
He's just not there.
100%.
And then have a little spurt there where he scores like 12 points in a 6-minute span, and you're thinking, all right, the guy can play a little bit. But I was never an overly enthusiastic fan of R.J. Barrett's game. I was kind of surprised he actually did as well as he did in the pros. As the Knicks spent like a number 3, number 2 pick.
He was third. He was behind Zion and Ja.
Delusional, though. I mean, the Knicks, you would think that they were coming back with the Busher, Willis Reed, and Clyde the Glide. No, Clyde Frazier. And, it's more like they have Butch Comives and Bells Bellamy coming back for the Knicks this year. They should be all right. But one playoff series that they've won since 1973 does not necessarily serve as a springboard for going to the championship. And, of course, accompanying The story about the Celtics Knicks game tonight in my beloved New York Post is a sidebar about who they're going to trade to get Joel Embiid. Haven't they realized nobody wants to go there anymore? It's no longer the mecca of basketball. People would actually, some players would probably prefer to be in Oklahoma City. Because it's the same thing, right? You can still be in a Subway ad.
There you go.
Did we say this already? Have another sandwich, Serena. All right. That's going to do it for this morning's briefing. But, I mean, a wonderful time of the year. You would have to say fall is it. I'm looking at my point spread page here and about to go into a degenerate coma. As you have everything going. You have what looks like, 10, 12 NBA games. You have NFL action coming up on Thursday night. So that's coming up tomorrow. And then a big slate of games this week. You have college football already games. There are like 54 straight night of college football games.
FIU takes on Jacksonville State, who's actually really good with Rich Rodriguez coaching.
And the 50-1 shot is still alive. We didn't even mention it.
The 51, yep.
How is this possible? How? I'll tell you how. Trey Turner 0 for his last 12. Castellanos 0 for his last 20 with 10 strikeouts. Harper 0 for 7 the last 2 games. And the Arizona Diamondbacks at 50-1 keep the dream alive. Those Snakes, they snuck their way into the World Series here against the Texas Rangers, which gets you on the way on Friday. So we'll have more on that tomorrow. And of course, what figures to be a very intriguing, somewhat opening slate. You had the 2 games last night, but pretty much everybody's in action now. Thursday, you have the Bucks and 76ers, Lakers back in action against the Suns, interestingly. And so we'll start to get some of the soap opera story of an actual NBA season that begins to really unfold for us tonight. And we'll have more on that tomorrow as well. Thanks for joining us. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. That's today's edition of the Morning Briefing here on nofilter.net.